On a quiet night in Fremont, California, the clock at the local McDonald's blinked 11:30 p.m. Marissa Lopez wiped the counter for what felt like the 1,000th time. Her back ached, her feet throbbed, and the fake, cheerful tone she had mastered for customers was long gone. 30 more minutes. Just 30. She glanced at the photo taped inside her locker when she stepped in earlier. Zoe and Miguel, her world. Zoe was 9, missing her 2 front teeth, and Miguel, 7, with those oversized glasses that always slid down his nose. They were with Mrs. Rodriguez tonight, the kind neighbor from next door. Probably fast asleep by now. Probably dreaming about things Marissa couldn't afford. "Order up," called Jake from the grill, snapping her out of her thoughts. She delivered the brown paper bag to a sleepy truck driver who gave her a nod and a crumpled dollar as a tip. "Have a good night," she said automatically. It was the same line she said hundreds of times each shift. The next voice didn't come from the counter. It came from the drive-through headset Alicia handed her. "Can you take the next car?" "I need a bathroom break," Alicia said. "Sure thing," Marissa replied, adjusting the headset over her ponytail. "Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you tonight?" A male voice, low and tired, came through. "Large coffee, black. 2 double cheeseburgers. Large fries. That'll be $12.87. Please pull up to the first window." As the sleek, silent electric car rolled into view, Marissa blinked. It wasn't a usual late-night ride. Not a delivery truck, not a busted Corolla. This was something different. Clean, sharp lines, expensive. Then the window lowered. Her heart skipped. It was Bill Gates. Yes, that Bill Gates. The man she'd only ever seen on a screen. Whose name was attached to foundations. Software education reforms. She'd read about him in high school. Zoe had done a project on him just last year. And now he was here. At her window. At midnight. He looked exhausted. Not in a rich, glamorous way, but truly worn out. His sweater was slightly wrinkled. His eyes had bags under them. And his shirt had some half-faded programming joke on it. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in 20 hours. Maybe he hadn't. "That'll be $12.87, she said, trying to act normal. Bill patted his back pocket, then frowned. He checked his jacket, his glove box, the cup holder. "I'm so sorry," he said genuinely. "I think I left my wallet at the office. I've been working late and," he sighed. "It's fine. I'll just go back and grab it. Sorry to waste your time." Marissa saw something in his eyes. Not entitlement, not arrogance, just exhaustion. A kind she knew too well. The kind that made you forget your keys. Your wallet, your own name? Before she knew what she was doing, she pulled out her own debit card. "It's okay," she said quietly. "I've got it." Bill blinked. "You don't have to." "It's no problem," she replied with a small smile, swiping the card without another word. She didn't have much. In fact, she only had $43.20 left in her account until payday. But sometimes people just need kindness. She handed him the receipt and turned to pack his food. Then, in a split-second decision, she added an apple pie. It was one of those tiny comforts that didn't cost much, but somehow made everything better. As she handed him the bag, she said, "I added a pie. You look like you could use something sweet." Bill smiled, then looked at her name tag. "Marissa," he said. That's very kind of you." "No problem, Mr. Gates. Get some rest, okay?" "You recognized me?" She laughed. "Of course. My son has a poster of you in his room. He wants to be an inventor one day." Bill smiled again, but this time it reached his eyes. "Tell Miguel to keep dreaming big." And then he was gone, just like that. Brake lights fading into the dark. Uso. Marissa didn't think about it again. She finished her shift, clocked out, and caught the last bus home. Mrs. Rodriguez was asleep on the couch. "Thank you for watching them," Marissa whispered. "No problem, honey." They were angels, as always. Miguel had kicked off his blanket. Zoe clutched her stuffed rabbit. Marissa tucked them both in, kissed their foreheads, and whispered, "I'm trying my best for you. I promise." She counted out coins in the kitchen. Bus fare, lunch money, rent, now $12.87 less. Tight but doable. They'd make it. They always did. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have imagined, was that security cameras had caught the entire moment. Every word, every gesture, the swipe of her card, the apple pie, and that somewhere in an office with floor to ceiling, windows and glowing screens, Bill Gates had seen her name and whispered it aloud. Marissa Lopez. Why does that name sound familiar? The next morning felt like any other for Marissa Lopez. She was tired from the night shift, her back still aching, but she managed to get Zoe's ponytail just right before walking the kids to the bus stop. Miguel carried his inhaler in his backpack, and Zoe wore the same pink sneakers she insisted were lucky. Be good today, Marissa said, kissing their foreheads. Are we having spaghetti tonight? Miguel asked. If we still have noodles, she joked. The bus pulled away and the quiet settled in. The kind of quiet that made her feel like the whole world was moving on without her. Marissa took the long walk home. She had 4 hours before her shift at the warehouse began, her second job, the one that barely covered rent. She boiled pasta, ate the leftover buttered noodles, and ignored the buzzing of her phone. The third time it rang, she finally picked up. Marissa, you're all over the internet. Her sister Lucia shouted. What are you talking about? She asked, clutching her chipped coffee mug. You didn't see it? Someone posted a video of you paying for Bill Gates' meal. It's going viral. Marissa nearly dropped the phone. How? Who was recording? Security footage. Probably someone inside McDonald's leaked it. You can see everything. Him realizing he forgot his wallet. You paying for him. Even you giving him that apple pie. No, Marissa whispered, panicked. Does it show my name tag? Clear as day. You're famous now. Everyone's calling you the McDonald's angel. Marissa sat down at the kitchen table, the color draining from her face. Fame, she didn't want it. She couldn't afford it. She found the video in seconds. McDonald's worker pays for Bill Gates' meal out of her own pocket. Humanity at its finest. 3.2 million views. Thousands of comments. Some sweet, some cynical. A few offered to start fundraisers for her. One read, "This is what America should look like." Another read, "Bet she gets fired. Fast food doesn't play with the rule book." Her phone buzzed again, this time a text from her night manager. "See me in the office when you clock in." Her heart sank. Fiduso, at 8 p.m. sharp. Marissa entered the back door of the McDonald's. She didn't even make it to the break. Room before Mr. Daniels, the short, square man who lived and died by the employee handbook, was waiting. Lopez's office now. She followed silently, feeling the eyes of every co-worker on her back. She sat as Daniels played the video on his desktop monitor. "Explain." "I paid with my own card," she said. He forgot his wallet. It wasn't theft. Daniels leaned forward. "And the apple pie?" Her voice caught. "I added it. I didn't ring it up." His face turned red. "You know the policy. No freebies. No exceptions. You're not paid to make judgment calls." "I'm a single mother," she pleaded. "I've worked here 3 years. I've never been late." "You should have thought of that before breaking the rules." He slid a paper across the desk. "You're fired." Effective immediately. Tears blurred her vision, but she signed it. There was no use begging. She gathered her things in silence. Her photo of Zoe and Miguel still taped inside the locker stared back at her. Smiling. Outside, the crowd had grown. People were waiting in the parking lot with phones. Someone shouted, "There she is," and began filming. Marissa ducked her head, pulled her hoodie up, and ran for the bus stop. The flashing lights of cameras followed her until she was safely on board. By the time she got home, Mrs. Rodriguez was already waiting with the kids. "Mama," Miguel called. "We saw you on YouTube. You met Bill Gates." Zoe hugged her tight. "Are you okay? You look sad." "I'm fine, sweetie. Just tired." After Mrs. Rodriguez left, Marissa sat the kids down and told them she wouldn't be working at McDonald's anymore. "Why not?" Zoe asked, eyes wide. "Sometimes grown-ups have to make changes," Marissa said softly. "But I'll find something soon." The next 2 weeks were brutal. Marissa applied everywhere. Gas stations, grocery stores, diners. No one called her back. Not a single one. She began to suspect they had seen the video. They didn't want the McDonald's angel working for them. Maybe they feared she'd give away food again. Maybe they just didn't like the attention. The balance in her bank account dwindled. Her rent was coming due. Miguel's asthma medicine would soon need a refill. Even dinner became uncertain. Pasta, rice, peanut butter sandwiches. Still, she didn't let the kids know. She smiled. She packed their lunches. She told them everything was fine. Fiduso. Then one afternoon, her neighbor Mrs. Chen knocked on her door holding a small box. "Delivery came for you?" she said with a wink. Inside the package was Miguel's prescription asthma medication, fully covered, thankfully by the state. When Marissa opened her fridge, all she saw was a half-gallon of milk, 2 carrots and 3 eggs. That would be dinner, again. Buttered eggs and toast, maybe. In the dim kitchen light, she sat down to check her email. Dozens of spam messages, requests for interviews, messages asking for her Cash App. But one stood out. Subject line: "Regarding your kindness at McDonald's." She stared at it. Was this from him? Her finger hovered over delete. She opened it. "Miss Lopez, I'd like to meet with you to discuss a matter of mutual interest. Coffee tomorrow, 2 p.m., Green Bean Cafe, Main Street. E." Marissa Lopez stood outside the Green Bean Cafe on Main Street, clutching her jacket tighter around herself. The cafe's windows fogged from the warmth inside, and for a moment she hesitated. She still wasn't sure if she should go in. Maybe this was a prank. Maybe someone was playing a cruel joke. Or maybe it was real. She took a breath and stepped inside. The cafe smelled of cinnamon and fresh espresso. It was quiet, just a few college students, on laptops and an older couple sipping lattes. At the far corner, a woman in a navy blazer stood up. "Miss Lopez?" she asked. Marissa nodded. "I'm Tanya Williams. I'm Mr. Gates's executive assistant. Thank you for coming." They shook hands. Tanya gestured to the booth. "Please have a seat." Marissa slid in, still not sure if she was supposed to order something or run. "I'm sure you're wondering why we contacted you," Tanya said gently. "Mr. Gates saw the video from McDonald's. He was deeply moved. He asked me to find you." Marissa flushed. "I didn't do anything special." "That's where we disagree," Tanya said, tapping a tablet. "You paid for a stranger's meal out of your own pocket. You didn't know who he was. You didn't hesitate." Marissa stared at her hands. "I broke the rules. And I got fired." "That's exactly what we want to talk to you about," Tanya replied. "Mr. Gates would like to meet with you, privately, not for publicity. He feels it's important." Marissa looked up. "Why?" "I don't want charity. I don't want to be a headline." "This isn't charity," Tanya said firmly. "It's acknowledgement. A conversation. One that might lead somewhere unexpected." Tanya reached into her bag and slid an envelope across the table. "He also insisted I give you this, regardless of whether you agree to meet." Marissa hesitated, then opened it. Her eyes widened. It was cash. A lot of it. I can't accept this." "You can. And you should," Tanya replied. "He feels responsible that your kindness cost you your job. This is just to help until we can talk properly." Marissa nodded slowly, overwhelmed. "Okay, when?" "Tomorrow morning." "We'll send a car." The next day, a black car pulled up outside her apartment. The driver, Carlos, greeted her with a warm smile. "Tesla headquarters," he said as they pulled away. Marissa stared out the window. She'd never been to Silicon Valley, never thought she'd go. The ride felt like a dream, the soft leather seats, the quiet hum of the car, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, something was changing. When they arrived at the Tesla campus, Tanya was waiting at the entrance. "Mr. Gates is expecting you." She led Marissa through minimalist halls and glass elevators. Everything gleamed. Everything whispered power. Finally, they stepped into a large office with floor-to-ceiling windows. And there, standing by the glass, was Bill Gates. He turned and smiled. "Miss Lopez, thank you for coming." Marissa shook his hand, trying not to panic. "Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Gates." "Bill, please," he said, gesturing to a seat. Tanya quietly exited, leaving the two alone. "I want to begin by apologizing," Bill said. "You lost your job because of a moment that should have been celebrated." "It wasn't your fault," Marissa replied quickly. "I broke the rules." "Rules should serve people," he said, "not punish them for kindness." Marissa swallowed hard. "I've read your story. I've seen the comments, the interviews you declined. You're not looking for fame. That tells me everything I need to know." Bill leaned forward. "I want to offer you a position." "At Gates Foundation." Marissa blinked. "What?" "In our community outreach division," he explained. "We need people who understand what it's like to struggle, who have compassion, instincts, real-world wisdom. You're everything we talk about in meetings but rarely find in resumes." She shook her head, stunned. I'm not qualified. You are, he said firmly. You have what can't be taught. We'll help you with the rest. He slid a folder across the table. Inside, job offer, full benefits, a salary she couldn't even comprehend. Why me? She whispered. Bill hesitated, then said, because I think we've met before. Marissa tilted her head. What? He pulled out an old photograph. A woman behind a McDonald's counter, smiling. Name tag, Elena Lopez. My mother, Marissa said softly. That's my mom. Bill nodded. Years ago, I was just starting Microsoft. I was broke, desperate, and she gave me food. Quietly, she told me to pay it forward. Tears welled in Marissa's eyes. I never forgot, Bill continued. And when I saw you, your name, your face, it came back. You're her daughter, and I've been waiting for the chance to repay that kindness. They sat in silence, the weight of it all between them. I'll do it, Marissa finally said, voice shaking. I accept the job. Bill smiled. Welcome to the team, Miss Lopez. The Monday morning sun peeked through Marissa's apartment window as she fastened the same navy dress she'd worn to her cousin's wedding. Years ago, Zoe sat cross-legged on the couch, watching her mother curiously. You look like a principal, she said. Marissa chuckled. I hope that's a compliment. You look nice, Miguel added shyly from behind his cereal bowl. Is it the important job meeting today? It is, she said, adjusting the second hand. Heels that pinched her toes but made her feel just a little more powerful. But it's more than a meeting today. Is the first day of something big. At 8 sharp, the sleek Tesla pulled up in front of the building. This time, the driver wasn't just any driver. He was David, her assigned transportation coordinator. Good morning, Miss Lopez, he said, opening the door for her like she was royalty. The ride was smooth and silent, but Marissa's mind roared. Could this really be happening? Just weeks ago, she was figuring out how to afford eggs and inhalers. Now she was being driven to the Gates Foundation campus in Seattle as a newly hired outreach coordinator. Inside the modern office building, she was greeted by Priya from Human Resources. Welcome aboard, she said with a warm smile, handing Marissa a folder. Your badge, login credentials, and today's orientation schedule. And before you ask, yes, your children's health care is already active. No waiting period. Marissa's breath caught. Miguel's medication had already cost them so much. Just knowing she wouldn't have to choose between a prescription and a meal anymore felt like climbing out from underwater. Her new office wasn't grand. A small desk near a window, a company laptop, a framed welcome sign that read, People first always. But to Marissa, it was everything. By lunchtime, she'd already sat through 2 onboarding sessions, signed forms she barely understood, and learned that the break room had free coffee, organic snacks, and even a quiet room with soft chairs and books. Mind if I join you? A cheerful voice asked as Marissa stirred sugar into her coffee. She looked up to see a woman around her age in a floral blouse and ID badge that read Lila, Education Access Team. I remember my first day, Lila said, sitting beside her. It's overwhelming but kind of magical, right? Marissa nodded. It feels unreal. Like I'm waiting to wake up. You're not alone, Lila said. We all got here through something. Some of us were teachers. Some worked nonprofits. Some like me used to be a cashier. Really? Marissa blinked. Yep, Lila grinned. Food Lion. I ran the self-checkout line and stocked shelves for 5 years. And now here helping kids in low-income neighborhoods. Access tablets and tutoring, wild. Marissa smiled, a quiet warmth growing in her chest. That afternoon, Marissa met her direct supervisor, Raj, a soft-spoken man in his 40s with a kind smile and patient tone. You will start by shadowing 2 of our regional coordinators, he explained. They're running initiatives in Washington and Northern California. Once you're familiar, we'll assign you your first pilot program. What kind of program? She asked. Whatever your community needs. School lunch reform, digital literacy, maybe healthcare navigation for single mothers. Her heart skipped. You mean I get to choose? You help shape it, Raj nodded. You have the real-life experience. We have the resources. We just need people like you to bridge the gap. Later that week, Bill Gates invited Marissa to lunch at a quiet corner booth inside the Foundation cafeteria. No cameras, no press. Just 2 trays, 2 sandwiches, and 1,000 unspoken things. "You settling in okay?" he asked, unwrapping his grilled cheese. "I still don't know where the copy machine is," she smiled. "But yes, better than okay. Good, you belong here." "I don't think I've said thank you," she said, setting down her lemonade. "For the job, for the trust, for remembering my mom." Bill looked out the window for a moment. "Your mother's kindness came at a time in my life when I had almost nothing but an idea. It changed more than my stomach that night. It changed my view of the world." Marissa said nothing. She didn't know how. "I want to fund a scholarship," he continued, "in her name, for single mothers pursuing community work, and I want you to help design it." Marissa's mouth opened, but no words came. "You okay with that?" he asked. Tears filled her eyes. She would have been proud. She used to say, "The best way to be remembered is by helping someone who can't pay you back." Bill smiled. "Then let's make sure people never forget Elena Lopez." That weekend, Marissa and her kids moved into a new 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood with trees, clean sidewalks, and a park just blocks away. It wasn't luxurious, but it was safe, warm, and filled with light. Miguel got his own desk. Zoe got a bed that didn't creak. Marissa got a home where the door didn't stick and the heater didn't rattle. As they unpacked dishes and blankets and framed photos, Zoe suddenly paused. "Mama?" "Yes, sweetheart?" "Do you think the apple pie made all this happen?" Marissa smiled. "No, baby, kindness did." 3 months after Marissa Lopez walked into the Gates Foundation, wearing second-hand shoes and trembling with uncertainty, everything had changed, and yet she remained the same. Every morning now began with Zoe tugging at her sleeve, asking, "Is today your big meeting?" And every evening ended with Miguel bringing her his latest robot sketch, proudly announcing, "I think this one could actually fly." Their small apartment had grown brighter, not just from the sunlight that poured in through wide, unbroken windows, but from the absence of fear. No more choosing between asthma medicine or groceries. No more counting change at the bus stop. No more sleepless nights wondering if the electricity would stay on. Marissa had become a rising star in the Foundation's community division. She'd proposed and launched a program called Backbridge, a mentorship and resource network for single parents re-entering the workforce. In just 90 days, it had already connected over 300 parents, with local training programs, childcare subsidies, and entry-level tech roles. The board called it one of the most human-centric initiatives they'd seen in a decade. But Marissa never stopped remembering where it all began: a $12.87 meal, an apple pie, and a stranger who turned out to be Bill Gates. It was the morning of the Foundation's annual Global Summit. Guests flew in from every continent: world leaders, educators, innovators, people who had spent their lives trying to fix the broken parts of the world. And at the center of it all, scheduled to deliver the closing keynote, was someone who had never imagined herself on a stage: Marissa Lopez. Backstage, she adjusted the small heart-shaped pendant she now wore every day, the one that had belonged to her mother. The pendant had been found in a dusty drawer at an old McDonald's franchise, lovingly preserved all these years, a piece of the past brought forward to bless the future. "You ready?" asked Tanya Williams, smiling. "No," Marissa laughed, "but I'm going anyway." The lights dimmed, the room hushed, and then the announcer said her name. She stepped onto the stage, heart pounding in her chest. "Good afternoon," she began. 3 months ago, I was working the night shift at a McDonald's just off the freeway in Fremont. I didn't have much. Just 2 kids, a few dollars to my name, and a lot of determination." She paused, scanning the room filled with dignitaries and dreamers. "That night, a man forgot his wallet. He looked exhausted. I paid for his meal, added an apple pie. It was $12.87. The best investment I've ever made." Laughter rippled gently through the crowd. What I didn't know then was that the man was Bill Gates. And what he didn't know was that my mother had once helped him, too quietly, behind a counter, offering free food to a young entrepreneur with a dream and empty pockets. Silence settled. A few hands went to mouths. A few eyes glistened. "We think kindness is invisible. but it leaves a trail. We think acts of generosity disappear into the wind, but they echo across years, across generations. Sometimes they even find their way back home. After the standing ovation, after the handshakes and interviews, after the whirlwind of attention and congratulations, Marissa slipped quietly into a side hallway, escaping the spotlight. She didn't like being the center of attention. She liked building things quietly, like her mother had. That's when Bill Gates approached. "No cameras, no fanfare. I should be the one clapping for you," he said. Marissa smiled. "We did this together." He nodded. "But it's your voice that's inspiring people now." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of shared history between them. "You ever think about what would have happened?" she asked. "If I hadn't added that pie?" "I think," he replied, "I would have still been grateful. But I might not have remembered it for the rest of my life." She chuckled. "Funny how something small can mean everything." A few days later, Miguel came home from school beaming. "Guess what?" he shouted. "They want me to enter the district science fair. My teacher said I think like an engineer." Marissa hugged him tight. "That's because you are one." That night, she tucked him into bed and sat with Zoe, helping her write a short poem for class about her hero. Zoe titled it, "My Mama the Kind One." Months turned into a year. Marissa was promoted to regional director. She led partnerships with community centers and colleges across 5 states. She worked long hours but always made it home for dinner. Always made time for story time. Always remembered what it felt like to work back-to-back shifts just to afford cereal. Then one afternoon, she received a message. "You are invited to speak at the UN Global Summit on Poverty and Inclusion." She stared at it for a long time. She didn't reply immediately. She walked instead through her building's lobby, through the neighborhood, where families now recognized her as the one who gave Bill Gates pie, through the little park where Zoe liked to dance under the trees. She sat on a bench and whispered, "Mama, I hope you're seeing this." A breeze rustled the leaves. That evening, Marissa confirmed her attendance. She would speak, but she knew she wasn't going there alone. She carried with her the legacy of a woman who handed out kindness like napkins, quietly, with a smile. She carried the stories of the single parents she now mentored, the young professionals who once stood at Friars and now led teams. She carried Zoe's poem in her purse and Miguel's drawings in her planner, and she carried something else too. Proof that kindness matters, that it circles back, that it grows, that it saves. Sometimes all it takes is $12.87. Sometimes it just takes an apple pie.